and now we bring to you the discussion on the Calcutta Colts Trial Stakes field of 5 runners, namely Hornbill, Clifford, La Dominate, Power Racer, that is late Mahabala, and Torino. We have P.S. Chauhan, who's going to be riding in this race, not your all-time favorite and practically everybody's all-time favorite, Suraj. So I'll start off with Mr. Javed Khan. Take us through your picks, or what would you have to say of these runners in the Calcutta Colts Trial Stakes?
Nice race. Seems to be a good race. I think basically it will boil down to La Dominate and Torino. I find Torino was one of my favorite horses because when I saw him jump out in the month of November, December, I was waiting for this horse to run. And I thought he's a very decent horse. Eventually he started running very late, I think towards the end of February. He's a horse who will get the trip. The only thing which I noticed about him last week was he's a little on the drier side. In spite of that, he came and ran a pretty decent race. In the winter, he'll be a totally different horse. And I feel he will be the horse who will get the trip a little better than La Dominate, because La Dominate so far has run only over 5.5 and 6 furlongs. He's a very good horse. He's a top class sprinter. He's got a great future. Monsoon track is a fast track, so he might get the 7 as well. Because he's looking nice, he carries himself well. Torino is the horse who's a little off color. If he was within himself, what he was in the winter, I felt I would have given him the edge over the trip and maybe a little longer.
So Albert, do you want to get him probably a Ganya colour box, or do you think you would go with some different picks for the Calcutta Colts? So what is your choice? And even Mr. Quinn, who's studying, the field and really wanted to contradict on what we're saying. So let's hear it from the two of you.
Well, rather than me sharing my opinion and trying to pretend to be an expert, let me just ask the experts and pass the buck to Patrick sir. So I think we were discussing off air, and I already know what your opinion is. So I will ask you, what about La Dominate? Dali out of La Lucy in the Sky. Akshay Kumar had a chance to have a feel of La Dominate, which he has ridden to victory earlier. So
I think La Dominate needed the run last time. Badly needed the run because we were a bit late in getting our horses ready for the monsoon season because of the small hiccup we had. He took over the running in the straight actually, and I blew up at the last 100 meters, I think. Mm-hmm. The horse that I prefer over La Dominate is Torino actually. Javed is right. Torino's got much better quality. He'll stay better. But only thing, I think he needs a change of weather, I think. He'll be a better horse in the winter season.
Right.
He's got a lot of talent, this horse, but looking really very, very dry. And surprisingly, he ran a great race last time. He got a little check in the straight also. He ran a great race, but I think he'll find a bit difficult to beat La Dominate tomorrow or day after tomorrow in the Colts. But follow this horse in the winter. He's a horse for the winter season.
Yeah. I remember looking at Torino while it was making its way to the starting gate, and it looked like it was on the edge. It was playing up. I remember saying it on air also that, I hope Torino was my pick in the paddock. I was hoping that, and it came back with the left cuts on the left quarter.
Yeah, so I think he got a bad check in the straight. The horse came into him in the front of him. There was no galloping route for him. But still, I think he ran a great race. I'll rather follow this horse in the winter when the season changes and it gets a little cold. This will help this horse a lot.
So we have spoken about La Dominate and Torino being your top choices. What about the other horses? Don't make them feel left out as well. So what are your views on, say, Power Racer, late Mahabala?
Power Racer, I think will find it a bit difficult over here. It's not matured yet. He needs more ground. He's out of mere culpa, which stays all day. I think the trainer needs to get him over a trip. That's why he's put up P.S. Chauhan to get his feedback. The horse needs a lot more ground. I think he'll find it difficult and struggle over here.
But he is one of the horses that have been raced, more number of times than the other horses. So in that,
I think this horse, as a baby, was thrown into the deep end a bit too early because these are late maturing. It's a late foal. He needs a little more time to furnish. I think he'll be better off in the winter.
And definitely, kudos to the trainer. He did have gait issues, and now to get him sorted and run the Calcutta Colts, I think it's a big coming from the trainer. Like he's got something. I think the trainer would think, is he just running for stake money? What would you think?
I think he's just running for stake money, and maybe see and put up a good jockey and get his feedback.
Right. Moving on to a couple of runners that we have, Melissa, I think you would be eager to know about Clifford and Hornbill. I think Hornbill, if you remember the last race it ran on the first day, it was very awkwardly out of the gates. I think the Stipes report was it was slowly out. I called the race. I didn't remember it being slowly out, but it was very tardily out. It very shabbily out, and it started getting the idea of racing very late in the day. By then, the race was already over. Dance Along, which is one of the contenders in the fillies, already had stolen a march. So I think Hornbill will perhaps be one of the horses because Mocha Loca used to run in Calcutta, and it was a decent type. I wouldn't say it
This
was
is her first crop, so
Right.
you can't really say anything much on
and
the pedigree basis.
so I think Hornbill would be one, and Clifford I think is your dark one in this race. The reason I say that is while it has not really traversed the distance, it has gone over 1100 and 1200 so far, and only when it has over 1100 meters. But I think the fact that it was taken on a start to finish mission, given a feel of the track, and it knows basically, okay, that's not the, maybe I think if Clifford is ridden in check, I think Clifford could be a dark one in this race. So yeah.
I mean, I would not just the horse knowing the track. He's, it matters more that the jockey knows the track.
Yep.
And we definitely have Zervan who has done, really well here in Cal as well. So he does know the monsoon track. So probably, the partnership with Zervan. My question to you, Mr. Javed, Hornbill, now it's running the Colts. Now when you see, I mean, not taking offense to anybody, but why didn't they give Suraj the ride, and why Yash? Would you have any insight on that? Is it?
I have no clue about it. I think the best person to answer this will be Suraj. But one thing for sure, being the first start on a monsoon track and ridden by Tejeshwar, ran a very nice race. Finished on pretty strongly towards the end. And I think Power Racer and Hornbill ran in the same race. Yeah. Like Patrick said, Mahabala, was thrown a little too early probably. That's what we feel, of course, no offense to the trainer. A maiden is still a maiden when you run into a fillies or a colt, wherever you stand. Highest rated horse is Clifford. So if I have to take a choice amongst the three, I'll definitely go for Clifford. And who has as good a chance as Torino and La Dominic, it will depend on how the race is being done. We have a horse like La Dominic, which is tremendously fast. We have a horse which is a very nice horse. This Quesada horse called Torino, but then like Pat said, and I noticed a little off color. And probably that was the reason it was a little on the edge. When the horse is not feeling well, they can't talk to us. That's the best way to show you that I'm a little uncomfortable. He's a very decent temperamented horse. I've seen this horse run in the winter. And one of my favorites, like I said, I picked him up very early in the season. So amongst the rest, if you have to go, Clifford is the next horse, which should be in the fighting for sure. A lot will depend on the running of the race.
That's a nice pet name, Cliffy.
Just to reiterate,
one of my best friends' name is Clifford. In fact, Patrick knows him well.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, just to reiterate what you said, sir, I remember the one where Torino won that race. Outstanding turn of foot. So if it can do that, if it is, let's say, 2 or 3 lengths within the field, and if it, I don't know how it's going to turn up tomorrow. We all have good days and bad days.
Honestly, that win that you're talking about,
Yeah.
if the jockey had corrected Torino a little earlier, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never sat on a horse in a race, but if he did correct it, the distance of the win would have been far more than what the verdict was. So I think definitely now with the more experienced jockey, Anthony Raj, who takes the mount, who's rather given the mount, I would say. So with him on Torino, I think that is one of the biggest advantages that this horse would have, because if you've seen, it's been ridden and he's always drifting out. So when you have that experience on the horse, that's what matters more. Would you suggest the same thing?
Basically, a dry-coated horse is very difficult to train in the summer. He's not taken the summer well. You can see that on his coat. He's a very good horse, but if you give it a little bit more time, as I said, once the season changes, the winter comes in, this horse will be a different cup of tea. If this same race is run in the winter, Torino will be my outstanding bet of the day.
I agree with Patrick.
तो just to sum it up, आप लोग से ये question है जो सब viewers जानना चाहते हैं. I think sir can see me struggling a bit with Hindi, but then I want to give it to the viewers because
हिंदी तुम्हारी सही है, बाकी हम बैठ.
शुक्रिया. So on that basis, आप लोग का जो top picks है, जिसके जो दोनों के बीच जो race होने वाला है, according to y'all, what would say that would it be La Dominate and Torino, would it be Clifford and Hornbill? आप लोग का जो जुगलबंदी है जोड़ी, वो आप
बेसिकली वो बोल रही है इन अ नटशेल, आप लोग अपने टॉप 2 हॉर्सेस बताइए एक एक करके.
हमारे दोनों अगर रहेंगे, ला डोमिनेट पहली बार 1400 मीटर दौड़ रहा है, लेकिन मॉनसून ट्रैक है, ट्रैक फास्ट रहता है, एक्सपीरियंस है. उस दिन थोड़ा सा हैवी था, थोड़ा उस दिन दौड़ा है, एज उसको देंगे. उसके बाद में आई लीव इट टू क्लिफर्ड एंड I want Torino to run a good race and because he is one of my favorite horses. और हम चाहते हैं वो घोड़ा बेटर दौड़े और विंटर में वो मेरे ख्याल से बहुत बेटर होगा आगे जाके। तो सबके लिए गुड लक एंड पिक अगर करना ही है तो क्लिफर्ड टोरिनो क्लिफर्ड ला डोमिनेट बीच में एहतियात होना चाहिए।
Okay, sir.
I'll go with La Dominate because the race is being held in 2 days' time. La Dominate looking much better. Clifford, I think, is an outstanding sprinter, 1100, 1200 meters.
True.
But Neil Darasha knows best. He's the trainer. But I would go with La Dominate first and Torino second.
Right.
If you would ask me also, I would say La Dominate is the pick जो रहेंगे सब, viewers choice if you would put it.
So now you can't say outstation because Neil Darasha is a Neil licensed trainer in our.
So we welcome Neil Darasha.
So Neil Darasha is an
RCTC.
RCTC trainer. He's not an outstation.
We should have let that come from him. He just lets the cat out of the bag like all the time. Well, Neil, welcome to RCTC. We love to have you here and hope you like it as well. And thank you all for being here and taking us through the Calcutta Colts and the fillies. It's a small field but definitely tough contenders. I mean, they all stand on the same page. Like I said, it's all printed on one page. So that is why. Sir, अगर आप कुछ कहना चाहोगे अपने viewers के लिए कि probably ये कुछ कर सकता है इसमें, any just a dark horse for the fillies or the Colts, anything just to sum it up?
You're wearing dark, so I can't pinpoint on dark colors. हिंदी में हम इतने बोल पाएंगे कि रेसिंग हमारी बहुत तकलीफों के बाद में शुरू हुई है और हम चाहते हैं कम्पिटिटिव रेसिंग हो। पिक्स तो अपने सब ने बता ही दिए, पंटर खुश रहे, पब्लिक खुश रहे, हमारे क्लब को प्रमोट करें। हम चाहते हैं और नए घोड़े आए हमारे पास में। हमारे क्लब है इंडिया में जो आज भी जितने भी ट्रेनर्स हैं उनको रेड कार्पेट पे वेलकम कर रहे हैं। हम उनको अपने प्रायोरिटी वाले स्टेबल्स दे रहे हैं क्योंकि हमको इसकी भी जरूरत है और हम चाहते हैं कि ऑल इंडिया रेसिंग इंक्लूडिंग ऑल दी ओनर्स और जितने भी ट्रेनर्स हैं हमको आगे थोड़ा सपोर्ट करें because we need it now.
Yes.
And we're very proud of our Royal Calcutta. There's no questions asked about it.
One of the things, thank you for mentioning that, and Melissa has already thanked आप लोग दोनों को शुक्रिया बोल चुके हैं, तो I cannot thank you both enough because for me to pretend to be an expert is getting
No, you don't have to
taking
thank
its toll.
We are all at home. You don't have to thank anyone.
Yeah, one question I had, just like a thing, I wanted to get your view. We don't have because we didn't have a proper season, we didn't have a lot of lead-up races, so we don't have a lot of horses which has had a lot of run. But in lieu of that, we have a lot of jockeys. We have, I think, if I counted right, we have every jockey in this field has at least won a classic, and I can see P.S. Chauhan, who's won a Invitation Cup, a Derby, Akshay Kumar, who's won multiple derbies. We have Anthony S. Raj, who's the Indian Derby winner now. We have S. Sarman, who's won classics, various places, and we have Yash Naidu, who's won the Invitation Cup on Quasar. So do the while we don't have the big names in racing, does big riders excite you?
Definitely. A jockey like Suraj Naidu, P.S. Chauhan, Trevor makes a big difference to the horses. You don't have to give these boys instructions. They do their study, they do their homework and come to the paddock and they'll tell you what the horse likes and what it doesn't like. I never give big jockeys instructions. They know exactly what they
I think there is a saying, right? If you give a good jockey doesn't read instructions and a bad jockey won't follow instructions.
I somehow feel she's trying to pinpoint to her
my
father.
Of course.
Because he was no doubt one of our favorites and all-time
Very good
favorites. He's
rider.
written some very nice races for me. No questions asked about it. So yes, we'll take that as a compliment.
And that
because
we'll
your dad-
take as a ending note, and kudos to Dad. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for
Thank
being
you
with
very
us.
much.
Thank you, Albert,
Thank you.
for not pretending to be an expert. And we close it for the Calcutta Fillies and Colts. See you at the races. Thank you.
Bye-bye.